All right, it's 8 o'clock. Call the meeting to order for the Water and Light Commission meeting for March 6, 2024. Please call roll.
Commissioner Grundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Beauchamp?
Yes.
Commissioner Quirk?
Yes.
Commissioner Riopel?
Yes.
All right, approved minutes from the previous meeting, February 21st.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Please call roll.
Grundy?
Yes.
Beauchamp?
Yes.
Quirk?
Yes.
Riopel?
Yes.
Bills and payroll.
Move.
Second.
Please call roll.
Grundy?
Yes.
Beauchamp?
Yes.
Quirk?
Yes.
Riopel?
Yes.
Nothing from the public. Reports. Mr. Todd.
Just in time.
I tried to pause so you could catch your breath, big guy.
Don't have a lot for my report. Most of what I have is on number 7 and 8, but it's really nothing new on our 2023 contract. Just still waiting to get started whenever the ground gets ready to finish up that. Business Highway 2 lighting project. Haven't worked on that much the last couple of weeks because I've been trying to get the construction and the material ready for this year. Other than that, working on drawing updates and those industrial park sub-projects. So that's really all I have for a report.
Any questions for Todd?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning, bud.
Not a lot for either. Kind of reported last time with the soda ash project, we were kind of working on that change order request. Brian and I reviewed it, requested additional information from the contractor, and we're still just waiting to hear back from them, so it's kind of in their court yet at this point. And once we agree with everything, then we'll process the change order, bring it here for final approval. And then with the 2023 water main replacement project, we still need to get as-built drawings finished up and get those to Todd and his staff. So that's kind of where we're at on those two projects.
Any questions for Steve?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallstead.
Good morning. Been continuing to work on the sick leave revision to the policies, personnel policies. I got a draft to Keith. We met about it. We're still going through it to finalize that. And that's about it for right now. And I know Jordan's got the CIP contract. I might weigh in on that depending upon what he has to say. So if there's any questions for me?
Anything for Mr. Gallstead?
Nope.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Approval of construction plans and specifications for 2024 miscellaneous electrical distribution construction projects. Welcome back.
Thank you. Seems like I was just here.
Yes.
Yes, we do have the 2024 miscellaneous electrical distribution construction plans and specs put together. We've got 5 projects, 1 fiber and 4 electrical ones. We're looking at setting a bid date of April 11th at 2 o'clock for the opening of the bids. Tentatively got a pre-bid scheduled for March 26th at 1:30 at the DSC. So with the bids opening on 11th, we should have everything ready and analyzed and our recommendations in for your April 17th meeting. I'm looking at a construction estimate of it's around $281,500. So it's quite a bit larger than what we normally do. But that is mainly made up of the replacements for circuits 4 and 5 on Industrial Park. Those are the big ones in that package. So So I'm looking for approval of the plans and specs and authorization to go out for bids.
I'll move on to construction plans and specs.
Second.
Right, thank you. Please call roll.
Grindy,
Yes.
Bochamp.
Yes.
Quirk,
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Okay, approval of plans and specifications for 2024 electrical equipment and material bids.
Now this is the plans and specs for the remaining material. We've already gone out for quotes on the transformers and the wire and the cable. This is pretty much the rest of the miscellaneous. Elbows, conduit, current transformers, just other stuff that Water Light needs for inventory, plus the remaining items that we need for construction that we are anticipating aren't long lead times. We're looking at a bid date of March 28th at 2 p.m. That's 3 weeks. Normally we give them 4, but we want to try and get this sped up a little bit more, see if we can get things a little sooner. So with the March 28th, that'll give them 3 weeks. It should be enough time. And then we're looking to have our recommendations ready for the April 3rd meeting. There's 39 items that we're getting bids on. My estimate on that is just a little bit over 51,000. So we're looking for approval of the plans and specs and advertise to go out for bids.
Is this to basically replace stock? I mean, can we get through our jobs this year?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's some of the items we need for construction, and then it's a lot of it's just to replace the inventory that Water Light thinks they'll need for the year. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike made a motion.
Yep.
Second. Oh, you got it?
Yep.
So motion by Mike, second by Riepel. Please call roll.
Grindy,
Yes.
Bochamp.
Yes.
Quirk,
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll get those out.
Thank you, sir. Frontier Energy Agreement for Services.
Morning.
Morning.
So we were working on the Frontier Energy, the agreement for services. So this would be from 2024 through the end of 2026. This is to keep receiving a SIP support. They help us look for opportunities in the area and any other questions regarding those. So we drafted up the contract. I attached that for reference, and then we were going to make a revision to Section 5 just to omit some wording and then set it up to have Keith sign it as the general manager. I'm just looking for approval to move forward with that.
So then tell Ron.
Oh, yeah, I could make some comment. I know that they sent it over to me for reviews. Under number 5, when we're talking about the revisions, it's the indemnification and the liability, what's going to be paid. It's my standard discussion when people try to limit their liability to the amount that they've been paid depending upon whatever happened in the contract. I'm not too worried about this one just based upon the scope of what their services are. But in all contracts, when I see indemnification language such as this, I always make the recommendation to remove some of the wording just because of the way it's been written.
Yeah, so of course we're going to follow Ron's recommendation, and so you did talk to Matt, right?
Yep.
And so we're waiting on them.
I just got one question. Any fees that we pay Frontier, are these used as a credit with the state as far as?
Are they eligible for SIP, the fees?
I believe so.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
assume so if we're working on it, but that's a good question. Double check.
Yes, I'm going to follow up
Do
on
you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. He wants to know if that's part of our 1.5% or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll move on it. Thank you.
Second.
Please call roll.
Grindy,
Yes.
Bochamp.
Yes.
Quirk,
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Thanks, Jordan. Department heads. Todd.
Got a few things here. The water crews are still installing the larger meters as they've been able to get in and do the appointments. Like I said, working with Todd on the construction plans and specs for the construction and the material bids. Working on the bucket truck bids. Looks like some of the chassis that we're looking for our truck is out till 26. So we'll keep working on that and give you some updates as it comes along. We did have some street lights out on Highway 220 North between 17th and 14th. Appear to be burned up underneath the highway and shorting out. So we did, the crews were out and they did get everything else on there. So those will be out for a while. And then got a call from the police department on the 24th, Saturday, for a water leak over at 306 4th Street Northwest. The guys went over there, shut the curb stop off. It was on the house side of the meter that was, or the curb stop that was leaking. It was copper in the house, and when they were digging it up outside, they found out it was lead. So it had been lead on the in between, and it was copper on the curb stop also. So we added that to our list. So we're at a total of 8 for the year that we know that that's how many lead services we have as of right now. And I've been doing a little bit of looking on some of the solar lights. I did find an outfit that's in the U.S. out of Georgia. These lights along the bike path, we've worked on them and they're pretty much outlived their life. I talked to Jordan a little bit yesterday too. These lights, I'm going to try and get a sample of one, try it out, and then they do qualify for like a 30-year tax credit also. So they're a lot less than what it would be to rehab the other ones right now. I'm just getting some more information. So they look really nice. So we'll probably get a hold of one.
Rehab.
Not too bad.
Really?
So, and that's about all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions for Todd?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brian.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Since our last meeting, IPS was in to complete their quarterly service on our flow meters and do the calibration there, as well as the maintenance on our SCADA. The state electrical inspector was in on Monday to examine and approve the work performed as part of the soda ash project. All went well there. The state boiler inspector was also in to ensure that's their annual inspection, to ensure the boilers were in compliance and being properly maintained. And then also I've been involved in finalizing the conservation report with the DNR, and then compiling the annual narrative for Brianna. And that's all I've got, unless there's questions.
Thank you.
And thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Brianna.
Nothing unless there's questions.
Anything for Brianna? Okay. Carla.
Nothing, excuse me, nothing unless you have questions.
Same, okay. Jordan.
Not too much for today as well here. Still working on the annual surveys, working on the AE2S one currently. This is where we provide our 2024 rate data as well as statistics from 2023. I was working with Brian yesterday on finishing up the ESP water report, so that one should be good to go. Back in the middle of February, I actually obtained some low flow shower heads, so I'm planning on the next week here to contact some of the assisted living communities, see if I can distribute some of those. We got the excavators banquet coming up at Minn Kota, so I have some items set aside for that event. 2 weeks from now on the 20th, I got that event over at South Point, so I've been working with Annie over at MMUA to organize the details on that, so that's usually a pretty good event, educational. Besides that, last Thursday, Russell from RG Energy Solutions down in Fargo stopped over just to kind of give a little presentation on what he's been working on in Grand Forks for some commercial projects. He plans to give a presentation on that in the next month or two here. So interesting stuff there. Looking at the rebates, For residential, I have primarily just washing machines and water heaters. For commercial, I'm still waiting to hear back on the status for the second Sanford rebate to get that paid out. And then I just received one for the Presbyterian Church, and that would have been 3 floodlights that went from quartz to LED. So I'm currently working on just calculating that for the next meeting. Any questions at all?
Any questions?
No.
Okay, thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Corey? Anything for Corey? No. Mr. Keith?
So I got a couple things here. Last week I was at the APPA meeting. I sent something out to you and a couple of the council members as well. 3 priorities that we were working on. I'll just quickly reference those. Ensure reliable, affordable, and sustainable public power. What that meant in yellow in the document I sent you, if you've had a chance to read it, you know, it just talks about avoiding passing unfunded mandates, avoid redundancy, provide regulatory certainty, things like that that make our public power competitive and keep it reasonable. The second one, which is the main one for us, was to alleviate the supply chain crisis. And they talk nationwide that there's anywhere from 2 to 5 years so they have the same issues that we have. And one of the things I heard that really caught my eye or attention was that one of them said that there's only so many vendors, there's only like a couple vendors that are making these transformers in particular that are the biggest lead time. And so in order to alleviate the supply chain crisis, they'd have to up it by 500%. And so that's why we're trying to get the federal government involved, and there's some things that we were asking for. One of the other things that concerned me there was the fact that they were talking about changing the energy efficiency standards for existing transformers. Well, if you do that, that's just going to create more issues and create more time to do things. And so that was another one of the items that we were asking for them to hold off on for 10 years so that we could at least get out of this supply chain crisis. And then the third one was modernize public finance tools. Restore advance refund bonds was the ask. Another one was increase from 10 million to 30 million the threshold under lending remains. Lender remains a small issuer. I guess they hadn't they haven't upped that since the late 80s or something. It's been a long time, and so in order to keep up with the times, everybody thought that was a no-brainer for those that are bonding to increase that to 30. And so the unfortunate thing about the meeting was, and it was sad to have the funeral in the cities, but the funeral in the cities for the 2 officers and the emergency person was held at the same time, and so all the legislators went to that instead of. So we only got all the aides is what we got at our meeting. But we still delivered the message, and I sent you something about Amy Klobuchar and her comments, and so we'll see where that goes. But it was productive. I got to hear the same, that all around the state everybody's dealing with the same thing. And my thought is just don't create any more rules and screw the process up anymore. Just kind of let us try to catch up. But I think this supply chain crisis, as they say in this document, is going to be around for a while. So.
Well, did they say anything about when they figured it would catch up?
Yeah, that's all dependent on if some of these things take place. I mean, I don't. I mean,
when I hear 500%, I'm looking 5 to 7 years yet.
Yeah, if you're asking me, it's going to take a while to catch up.
When you do the math, and, you know.
Yeah. And so then it all depends on if they can even pass some of these things, because it sounded like the transformer efficiency thing, that nothing's a guarantee. I mean, there's strong desire to do some of these efficiencies, you know, now, and so we'll see where it goes. I'll keep you posted on that one. But if you're asking me, I think that's the new norm for a few years here.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, unless things really align right. And it's election year, so we'll see where it goes.
Okay, move on. Next topic.
So the other thing is the Lake Agassiz Water Authority update. I attended a meeting there last week, or right after I got, it was last Friday. And so now and I've talked to Mr. Riopel about it from the council perspective, but now they're at a point where they are meeting. They're setting up meetings with all the the potential users are the ones that have said they want to sign on, and they're going to bring out numbers, and they're going to give out the presentation on the cost and answer questions that people may have. And so our meeting, we're going to have a couple. One's going to be with Grand Forks and us, and then the second one is going to include the rural water systems around us. And so my suggestion or my recommendation to you is, I've mentioned to Tim that it would be nice to have him and then maybe somebody else from the city, and then I thought maybe the chair, you would be there, and then I would be there, and then Brian would be there, so that we can hear. Now, others are welcome, but I'd like that at a minimum. And so once they set the date, then we'll get to hear what it means. I'd like you all there, I guess, if we could potentially do that, but it'd probably be
Well, then you just schedule you just say it's a public meeting.
yeah, that way you can hear the information, because they're going to come out with the numbers now, and I don't think it's going to be too far from what Brian and I have said to you in the past. And so we've been kicking around things for a while here. I want you to hear the information. Maybe there's a possibility that we could reduce our allocation, our CFS. And I want to have you have all the information before we make that decision to go forward, because if it's kind of where we think it is, it's probably $140,000, $150,000 a year annually if we go with the 2.1 CFS allocation. So what did we talk about? Going down to 1.2 possibly? Yeah, and so, and I want to do some additional follow-up, and I'm going to talk to Brian. I was just thinking about it last night. I'm going to reach out to the Red Lake DNR. I'm going to talk to them about this 100 CFS flow. I'm going to look at the past history and see how low that's went, because if we get the 100 CFS coming down the Red Lake River, do we need it? But that's something we need to know. We need to know if there's a certainty of that, and I want to just get a little more history on that. The last time we had a drought, the Corps engineer, the colonel, said he'll keep it at 100, and then we went through it pretty good then. But if that wasn't the case when we had a severe drought, so I need to flush that out a little more, so I can give you some more information regarding that. Because in my mind, I'm still pondering as giving recommendations. I'm just teetering between a lesser CFS and nothing. Because now that we know we need about 25 CFS, I mean, the last time we had this, it wasn't a severe drought, but it was flowing in. What was the CFS? It was coming in just under 100? Or?
Yeah, I think it got down to about 80,
85. And so from that perspective, we still had 3 times as much. But how do you know? So,
Upstream.
Yeah. And Thief Rivers, they use some of it, and then us.
Yeah, so Thief River's the only other user that's upstream of East Grand Forks, that we really have to take into consideration on that, because they'll need water as well. We don't have to go back that far. I believe it was the summer of 2012 when we got down. The CFS was down around 35 in the Red Lake River. So we do have a history of it being certainly lower than it was even 2 or 3 summers ago.
So the question is, when it was down to 35, did we have the agreement with the colonel that said we'd keep 100 coming? Do you remember?
I don't believe they had met with the colonel from the Corps of Engineers at that point.
We did that this last time, and then he said we'll keep it at 100. So I want to flush that out a little more. The other thing related to all of this is the reason for the project, in my mind or my view, it's eastern half of North Dakota, and we have to be tied in, which is a good thing. It's a lot about the industrial use in the future.
Sure.
And so if they want to attract development, things like that, us included, and so that to me is why it's still sticking in my head that maybe a reduction, but maybe still do it. It's just, and I think you're thinking the same as I am on that would leave us extra room for potential industrial.
How much is Grand Forks currently taking out of the Red Lake?
Well,
they take about annually 85% of their water is taken from the Red Lake now, versus the Red, and that's just simply because it's a better quality source.
Oh, I know that.
And
so you're talking CFS. If we're 2.1, they're like 16 or something, 17-ish.
Yeah, that's probably not their daily average,
But it was the allotment. I think the number that they're allotting for is.
That's probably correct.
Yeah, that's what they're asking for in this project.
16.
Okay.
Somewhere in that, or
16.
CFS.
16.
But now, consider that's going to be out of the Red, not out of the Red Lake.
That's the water coming down the Red River. So in the time of a drought, like we had this last time, they stopped voluntarily taking it out of the Red Lake. So they're a good partner, and they understand that process. So I think we're coming to a point here where I'd like to have the chair and Brian and I there, and if you others can make it to those meetings, it'd sure be welcome. I'd like to definitely have Tim and one other council person, if it's Mark or the mayor or Reed for sure, because it's a decision. You guys will probably make the decision, but it's a decision bigger than this commission, because it's going to amount to how would we go about paying for something for 40 years if we decided to do it. And then we do have some time, because they're talking about the project wouldn't be done till the 2030-ish, 31, 32. And so what do we do if we do sign on? How do we come about paying for what we're going to do? So
it's going to be 2030 before we know it.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, they're putting money into the project, and it's real money. And so, is the project going to happen? Yeah, it's happening. Okay. And North Dakota is funding 75% of it, and that's why we're tied in through Grand Forks, which we're happy that they're putting us in under their wing, kind of, so to speak. But eventually we'll have to decide whether we sign on. We do pay a couple $1,000 annually to be on a member, and Brian and I have been diligent about attending all the meetings, and probably more so than most.
Definitely.
So that's an update on that. Once I get a date, I'll give you that date, and then we'll take the next step. Like I said, I'll reach out to some Red Lake DNR folks and see if I can't get some history on that, so that we make an informed decision on if we do it or don't do it.
Sure.
Because it's not one. Usually, I'm a black and white person or guy, and I'm in the gray here on that one. So, it'd be nice not to spend the money, but let's see. So, all right, I talked plenty on that one. Renewable energy project. Nothing really new from the last time. I mean, I'm optimistic about that, and we'll just see what happens. Hopefully we'll hear something by April, maybe even at this next meeting. I go to my next MMPA board meeting is March 19th, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that. And then the water treatment operator, the deadline for the posting there is March 15th. So that's what I have for you today.
Any more questions for Keith?
No.
How about you, Mike? No? Thanks, Keith.
No.
Yep.
Commission reports, anything?
Nope.
No.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move. Second.
Please call roll.
Grandy,
Yes.
Bochamp,
Yes.
Quirk,
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.